Hello students, today we are going to start with chapter 9 of science, the living organisms and their surroundings. There are different types of surroundings in different parts of our country. The mountains of Himalayas are a very cold place and contain different kinds of animals and trees. The desert area in Rajasthan are very hot and dry. This desert have many types of plants and animals living in it. The coastal areas are very humid and have an entirely different kinds of trees and animals. Living things are found everywhere, and today we will discuss living things and their characters in this first part of our video. Living things around us. There are many living and non-living things around us. Those things which need food, water and air for survival are called living things. All the animals, including human beings, are living things. All the plants and trees are also living things. Those things which do not need air, water and food for survival are called non-living things. For example, table, chair, rocks, bulb, etc. are all non-living things. The living things are called organisms. Thus, all the plants and animals are organisms. Characteristics of living things. All the living things have some common characteristics in them, which make them different from non-living things. Living things need food, air, and water. Living things grow. Living things can move by themselves. They can respond to stimuli. Living things respire. Living things excrete. Living things can reproduce. And living things have definite lifespan after which they die. Firstly, let us discuss about food. All the living things need food to stay alive. They also need air and water, without which they will die. The plants make their own food by the process of photosynthesis. But animals obtain their food from plants or some other animals. Growth. Growth means increase in size. All living things can grow. The young ones of all living things grow and become bigger in size with the passing of time. For example, a seed grows and becomes a plant. Similarly, a baby grows and becomes an adult. Movement. Movement is one of the most important signs in an organism. All the living things move by themselves. The animals and plants move in different ways. Animals can move from one place to another, or they can move their body parts also. For example, frog moves when it jumps. A bird moves when it flies. A fish moves when it swims. The plants are fixed in the soil, so they cannot move like animals from place to place. Plants can only move their parts of the body, such as leaves, flowers, branches, etc. Response to stimuli. The changes in surroundings to which living things respond is called a stimulus. The living things respond to external stimuli like heat, light, touch, sound, smell, taste, water, and chemicals. Response to such stimuli is usually in the form of some movements of body part. Example, if a person touches a very hot object, he responds to stimuli of heat and immediately pulls the hand away from the hot object. Another example, if we move suddenly from a dark place to a bright place, then our eyes shut themselves in response to the light. Yet another example, if we see our favorite food, our mouth starts watering. Birds fly away when they hear a loud sound. Some animals are attracted by light and moves towards the light, while some animals like cockroach and earthworms do not like light and they try to hide from light. Plants also respond to stimuli like sun, gravity, touch, etc. The mimosa plant, also known as touch-me-not plant, if you touch the leaves of this plant, its leaves folds up and droops. Here, touch is the stimulus and drooping of leaves is the response. Respiration. All the living things need energy to grow, move, and stay alive. They get this energy from food through respiration. During respiration, food consumed by an organism combines with oxygen to release energy. Carbon dioxide and water are the other products of respiration. The process of respiration takes place inside the body of a plant or animal. For example, we breathe in oxygen through air, and this oxygen is used to produce energy, while we breathe out carbon dioxide produced during respiration. The exchange of gases takes place in our lungs. The process of breathing in animals like cow, buffalo, horse, dogs, cats, etc. is similar to human beings. However, there are some animals who do not have lungs and they breathe through different mechanisms. The earthworm breathes through its skin. The skin of the earthworm is quite thin and moist and has a good blood supply. Earthworms absorb oxygen needed for respiration through its thin and moist skin. The fish has special organs called gills for breathing. The gills absorb oxygen dissolved in water. Carbon dioxide is also expelled out through gills. Like animals, plants also need energy. The plants get this energy by the process of respiration. Plants use oxygen for respiration and release carbon dioxide in this process. Every leaf has tiny spores called stomata on its surface. Exchange of gases takes place through stomata. Excretion. All the food eaten by the organisms is not completely used and a part of that food remains unused. This unused part of food is known as waste material. Many of the waste material is poisonous for living things, so they have to be removed from the body. The removal of waste substances from the body is called excretion. Some of the waste materials produced in human bodies are carbon dioxide, urea, and feces. Plants also produce some wastes. The main wastes produced by plants are carbon dioxide during respiration and oxygen during photosynthesis. Some plants store some of the waste in their body parts in the way they do not harm the plant as a whole. For example, leaves, barks, and fruits. The plants get rid of this waste by shedding leaves, peeling off bark, and dropping their fruits. Some plants remove their waste through secretions as gum and latex. These plant wastes are useful for human beings. Reproduction. The process by which living organisms produce new one of its own species is called reproduction. All the living things reproduce themselves. The mode of reproduction in different animals are different. Some animals reproduce by giving birth to their young ones, whereas some animals reproduce by laying eggs. Human beings, dogs, cats, cow, horse, deer, lion, tiger, etc. reproduce by giving birth to their young ones. The animals like birds and fishes reproduce through eggs. Plants also reproduce to give new plants. Like animals, plants also have different modes of reproduction. Many plants reproduce through seeds. When seeds are sown in a moist soil, seeds germinate and grow in a new plant. Some plants reproduce through tubers. Tubers are thickened underground stems of a plant which is swollen with stored food in it. A potato is a stem tuber. Potato has many buds on it. When potato tuber is planted in a soil, then buds of potato start growing and produce a new plant. Some plants reproduce through cuttings. In this method, cutting of some existing plant have some buds on it is taken and its lower part is buried in a moist soil. After a few days, the cutting develops a root and grows into a new plant. Living things have a definite lifespan. All the living things start their life on their birth. These living organisms grow into adult, reproduce, remain alive for a certain time, and finally die. No living thing remains alive forever. Different organisms live for different duration of time. The time period for which the living things remain alive is called as a lifespan. All the living things have a definite lifespan. For example, man has average lifespan of 60 to 70 years. Insects produced in rainy season have lifespan of few hours, whereas lifespan of tortoise is 100 years. Similarly, different plants have different lifespan. Most of the large trees have longer lifespan than animals. Students, let us study now an interesting fact about seed. In general, living things may show all the characteristics that we have discussed. Sometimes a living thing may not show all the general characteristics. It may show a few of them. Let us take an example of wheat seeds. Here, wheat seeds are living things, but do not show most of the characteristics of living things. Like wheat seeds do not require food, they do not grow, they cannot move on their own, they do not reproduce, and they do not excrete. The wheat seed, however, only respire. So the only characteristic shown by wheat seed is only respiration. This can be understood by putting our hand in a gunny bag full of wheat grains. We will find that it is somewhat warm inside. This is because some heat is produced by grains due to respiration. If we sow a seed in soil and water the soil, then seeds show growth and turns into a new plant. That's all for today. Bye bye, kids.